Woo! Okay. So, do princesses dream of magic sleep? So, it's a little interesting start to this one, and then it kind of ends pretty cool. So, the main six, they all have like the same dream one night, and in this dream, there's like this evil little purple thing that like comes and like destroys everything, and they don't really know what's up. It's like some kind of like monster thing in their dream. And so Luna, watches everybody's dreams, and so she's like, whoa, hey, did you guys all have like the same dream, the same nightmare? That's probably not good. And so she figures out that there's this thing called a Tanibus, and it's like this huge monster that Luna's been fighting for years and years and years and years throughout the dream world, right? And every time she goes to sleep, this monster like comes into her world and just destroys herself. Like, and when she's dreaming, it just tortures her and it crushes her. And in her mind, right, is like the root of all evil. It's sadness, it's destruction, it's awful, 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 awful monster. It only exists in the dream world, right? And the problem is that like it used to only be in Luna's dreams, and when it was only in Luna's dreams, it was like her punishment for being Nightmare Moon. It was her punishment to herself, basically, for being like evil and destroying people and trying to take over the world and all that stuff, right? So as this goes on, as she realizes that this monster has escaped her dreams, and it's going into like everybody else's across the world, right? Main six, and then so many other people. It's growing and it's growing and it's growing in power, right? And the main six do is they all come together and they say, okay, well, we've got to stop this guy, because if it gets too powerful, it'll escape into the real world and then take over everything and kill everybody, and it's pretty bad. So we don't want that to happen. And it's really interesting is like where this thing gets its power from. It gets its power from like Luna's grief, right? And so this idea of her regretting how she used to be and how she used to act, and her past actions. She's thinking so much about the past that she's destroying her present. This is such a huge, huge, huge problem, because so many people, they look and they see the past. They see the present. They see the future. And they think, okay, well, focus so much energy on the past, so much on the future. And they just ignore the present, which is terrible. It's awful. Because by focusing on the past, you're never going to get anything new done. At all. It's the worst place to send your attention, because you need to focus on now, getting it done, taking action, moving forward. The future is great. You got to know what you're doing in the future. But you can't just think about the future all the time. You've got to focus on the present and get it done now. I read a book a while ago called The Power Now. And in The Power Now, it's all about this idea of being here, being present, getting stuff done and crushing it. Because it's so ridiculously important to focus on yourself now, to increase your self-confidence, to increase your abilities, to increase your successes, by ignoring stuff that could hold you back, or not worrying about, what's got to get done, and just being in the now and taking the action you need to have the successes you desire and the confidence that you need to succeed. She's focusing way too much on the past. She's thinking so much about how she used to be evil that it's manifesting itself into her current life, and it's destroying her current dreams. And so, with that said, so she gets everybody together in one room, and she enters all of their dreams at once, and everyone comes together. They find this monster in everybody's dream, Tanibus, and they've got to fight Tanibus. So in their sleep dreams, I guess, the whole town comes together, the main six come together, Luna comes together, and they all start, just attacking Tanibus. With swords and just magic, stuff like that, and just going hard, right? Trying to kick him out. And as they do this, he starts to get weaker, he starts to get stronger. They realize that their attacks aren't, having the biggest impact on anyone, right? And there's a problem with the way that the monster gets its energy, because the energy comes from Luna. And as more and more and more people, attack and join in and join the fracas, Luna feels more and more guilty about how she used to act as Nightmare Moon, right? And as her guilt increases, so does the power of this monster, right? And it's literally feeding off her being, her sense of self, and her negative energy, right? Remember, you've got to eradicate negativity and only exuberate positivity now. And so with this example, it's destructive and it's awful because she gets angrier about herself, and so does the monster. The monster gets more and more and more powerful, and it gets ready to break out of the dream world and come into reality and take over everything and crush everyone. And that's when the main six Twilight realizes what's going on, and she understands that the only way for Luna to have true tranquility is to forgive herself.
I cannot hold the stream together much longer. Equestria will fall because of me.
Am I crazy, or did it just get even bigger after Luna said that?
I think it's feeding off your guilt, Princess Luna. If that is so, then perhaps that is how it grew strong enough to escape in the first place.
Say what now?
I created the Tantibus to give myself the same nightmare every night. To punish myself for the evil I caused as Nightmare Moon.
But why would you do that?
To make sure I never forgave myself for how much Equestria suffered because of me. But it seems I have not learned my lesson. For now I have only made you suffer more.
But that means you might just be the key to stopping all this. Yeah! If it gets strong because you feel bad about what you did as Nightmare Moon, then you just gotta stop feeling bad for what you did!
How can I forgive myself? I am no better now than I was then. My creation is about to turn the world into a living nightmare!
But look at what you're doing! Nightmare Moon would have wanted the Tantibus to turn Equestria into a nightmare. You're doing everything you can to stop it. Don't you see? That proves you're not the same pony you were then. Every pony who knows you knows that Nightmare Moon is in the past. We all trust you, Luna. Do you trust us enough to believe we're right?
I do. Thank you. Thank you all.
So you can see the key to her success and the key to really getting over all of this was her finally embracing, the present and forgetting about the past and coming to terms with, her social group and the power of those around her, and sort of, moreover, having faith in them that they have faith in her, because that's such a powerful, powerful concept. Like this idea that once you start to develop, a social group and a baseline and a mastermind and strong relationships, all of a sudden you don't have to just have faith in yourself. Like other people can have faith in you, and it boosts your confidence and boosts your ability and boosts what you can achieve by simply relying on others who will push you to those limits and get you higher and higher and higher with huge, huge levels of success and impact with whatever it is that you desire and do. So yeah, cool stuff. Boop. Awesome. So Candlelight Boutique. So here's like the really okay, cool. So Verity, she wants to open her store in Candlelight. And so what she does is she gets a store and she fills it with dresses. And she opens a store. It's not freaking difficult. For her, there's startup capital, there's initial things. But you just take what you want to do and then you do it. And so that's exactly what happens here. And so like Rarity doesn't like live here, nor does she want to like always be running this store, right? And so very early on, she brings on this awesome little assistant girl, and she runs like the operations, runs the day-to-day, super helpful. And she's like the main sales pony for like the entire store, right? And so she kind of stands in the back, and they have like their first grand opening. So everybody comes around, and they're all super excited because like Rarity is pretty well known, and she's got a good image, and she makes a lot of clothes. So, excuse me. This is like, you know, their grand store opening or whatever, right? And everyone comes in, and everyone loves like this one dress called the princess dress, right? And so she has like Twilight come in and wear this special princess dress or whatever. And everybody loves it, right? Because everyone wants to be famous, and everyone wants to be princess, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you get the point, right? They have really good publicity, great branding, great marketing around this one single product. And because of that, you guys know like the 80-20 rule, right? It's the idea that like 80% of the profits are going to come from 20% of the work, 20% of the products. And so there are tons and tons of dresses all over the store, but the vast majority of people, they only really want to buy this princess dress. And so Rarity, you know, she's opened up a store, and she's gotta, you know, make what she sells, right? Because she doesn't have anybody else that can like do this for her, which is like weird, right? But she does get a sales point, so that's kind of cool. So she goes in the back, and she's just making dress after dress, the same dress over and over and over again. And there's, you know, she's got like stacks and stacks of order forms. Like so many people, they want this dress. And she just keeps making the same thing over and over and over again. And it's just insane. It's ridiculous. And like her goal, right, is uniqueness. Her goal is to give unique, fun, and new experiences to everyone that she possibly can throughout, you know, her whole life, right? And so, like, that's when she starts to get into this conflict, this internal struggle between, like, you know, quality versus quantity. And that's shown, like, ridiculously well in this one clip. Let's pull it up.
Oh, satin and silk, Rarity. Are you sure you don't want your friends to help you make the dresses?
No, Sassy. These orders are my responsibility. All I have to do is stick to my plan so I can deliver each and every princess dress in keeping with my rules of rarity.
The rules of rarity, guaranteed quality, this I can assure. For each and every dress, I vow to give finesse with time, love, and couture. My favorite moment's when a pony sees it. That special gown that she just adores. That pony's now in style. My hard work's all worthwhile. Oh yes, it makes my heart just soar. The rules of rarity, just a parody. No dress here's unique. The panels all the same, each colored window pane. I fashion only makes me want to shriek. Oh, to create would give me elation. To feel once again some inspiration. Come on now, rarity, give me some clarity. Time for your couture love to rule. The rules of rarity, extra TLC, this feels more sublime. Soon now they will see how good these can be with a little extra shine. The rules of rarity, guaranteed quality, all can see it's true. These new gems add such flair.
And so the problem here is that the new client just hated the new design and just didn't want those new gems and new gels because they bought this basic, right?
Now every dress I make with every flaw and mistake, oh how it makes my heart just break.
And so she put so much effort into figuring out like a new way to do it, a new spin, a new take on this dress that's been sold so much by her assistant Sassy. And it just does not work. People do not want something different. The marketplace is telling her, we want to buy this specific good. And she just can't stand that. And it sucks, like, especially with like, artistic professions, or, when you're working with something where it's like you making it, and it's only her making it, right? She has no help, no assistance, no team to scale this up. And so she just can't stand doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And this is really the point, especially when like businesses or personal development or growth, or whatever it is you're working on. We've got to think about what power base can you create, what team can you make, so that they can fulfill on what the marketplace desires, and you can focus on what she cares about is like design, right? So you can just focus on what she is best at, her core competency, while letting other people handle the stuff that's just bogus, stuff that does not matter, that's like below her, right? And so that's really the goal here, is to just keep expanding and keep growing, and don't limit yourself to a peak when you have so much more potential. And you just have to expand your team and expand your mindset, right? And take a minute and step back. And instead of working in the business, which is what Rarity is doing, what you really need to do is you need to work on the business. And it's the same thing for you, right? Like, if maybe you don't have a business just yet, like if it's like you need to work in yourself versus working on yourself. And so like going to the same job over and over and over again is working in yourself versus working on yourself, going through educational content, going through training and planning for bigger futures, brighter futures, planning these businesses, right? These assets, building these assets. You work on yourself by building assets. It'll pay you for the rest of your life with investments, and it's just so powerful. You got business assets, paper assets, so many insanely powerful ways to create tremendous amounts of wealth by working on yourself instead of working in yourself. So same thing in business, working on your business instead of working in your business. That's really the goal, right? Is to build this business asset that functions without you. And that's kind of one place where Rarity kind of always struggles, is that she always wants to be in control of like the creation process. And so she just doesn't scale as much. So yeah, cool stuff. And sort of like a really big achievement for her to open up her first boutique. And she also realizes that like she's got to inspire people to be creative. And over time, as the show goes on, she realizes that like she's got to show people the special nuances of her custom wear and all of her other different dresses and attires. And she actually like stopped selling the most popular dress on the planet, the princess dress, because she just can't stand it, which is a very questionable business decision, but it's one that she makes for the purpose of herself and the purpose of her creativity and the purpose of her expression, so that there's more. She just wants more diversity, more change, and she has significantly higher amounts of fulfillment and happiness from selling all these different versions of the dress, different dresses. And at the end of the day, I guess that's to her what really matters, is that significance and that happiness and that sense of fulfillment and importance that comes from seeing such a unique world around her. And then Sassy's out. She just kind of stays there and works for basically the rest of her life, which is kind of cool. So yeah, cool. Rarity investigates. Ooh, this one's fun. Okay, so she just like moved into Canada, whatever. So there's this huge event at the castle, right? And they've got like all the Wonderbolts coming in to run this big showcase, right? And they're gonna have this huge, they're all gonna fly and they're gonna like try to set some records and see who's the fastest and all that fun stuff. And so Rainbow Dash, she gets invited as like the top cadet in the whole academy for the Wonderbolts. And then there's like a bunch of Wonderbolts too, right? So everyone's staying in the castle and they're all having, a great time, connecting with each other and then getting ready for this cool like flight thing. It's going to be like the coolest thing ever, right? And they're super excited for it.
The moment she strutted into my office, I already knew she was guilty. Only guilty people strut like that. That's a guilty person's strut.
The moment I strutted into her office, I knew I could outsmart this buffoon.
The dame wasn't talking, and that was fine. I cannot talk too. I cannot talk for hours. I'm not even talking right now.
Me neither.
Looks like Trixie picked up a racket and decided to play.
Little did she know, two can play this game.
Oh, she's good. But I had a little special something prepared.
Makeup? We could be here
For hours.
You win this round, Rarity, but the match ain't over yet. The great and powerful Trixie always prevails. You better clean up these rocks. Someone could get hurt. Not me, but you know, someone.
Spike?
Sorry. I wanted to see what it's like to be a dancer.
You want to dance in the play? Oh, we'll find a spot for you, Spike. But next time you borrow a boot, ask first. Case closed.
Trixie, amazing.
How come nobody's talking out loud?
So everyone comes together and they have a note. So a note appears for Spitfire. So Spitfire is one of like the biggest guests here. And the note says that her mom is like super sick. So she runs home to go take care of her mom, right? And since she leaves, they have an extra opening in the routine. And so Rainbow Dash comes to fill the opening. And so she gets to fly with the Wonderbolts. And it's like the happiest moment ever for her. She's super, super excited. And so they practice for a couple of days just before the start of the event. And as they're practicing, Rarity, she comes to watch Rainbow Dash. And she's sitting in the stands. And she plumps down right next to Spitfire's mom. And she's like, hey, what's up? You just sent us a note that said you were like super sick. And Spitfire's like, or Spitfire's mom is like, no, she's like totally okay. It's not a problem whatsoever. And so like the note was a fake, and everybody comes back and they say, okay, well, somebody like tried to get rid of Spitfire. Who would want to get rid of Spitfire? Was it like Rainbow Dash, who could like come and join the rainbow, the routine? If she, in the Wonderbolts, if she could get rid of Spitfire. And so everybody thinks it was Rainbow Dash. Now, before here, right, there was this one other guy at the castle. His name was Wind Rider. And Wind Rider used to be like, he has like the record, right, for like the fastest, flyer ever, best Wonderbolt, whatever. And he's like super old, and so like he's retired. But Rainbow Dash is like huge fan of him. Like awesome guy, super cool stuff. And Wind Rider, anyway, I forgot, but like, yeah, that was like one of the other characters, right? So he's a new guy that no one's seen. And so Rarity, like, obviously knows that like this wasn't Rainbow Dash because, it wasn't Rainbow Dash. Because she like really wants to fly with the Wonderbolts, but she wouldn't cheat or lie to get in her way into that group, right? It's just not her, right? And so she goes and she starts to investigate. She talks, she's trying to figure out like what is going on, right? Like what happened? And so she goes with Rainbow Dash, and they go to like some of the guard ponies, right? And they figure out, okay, well, who could, get to Spitfire's room and leave this envelope that said, her mom was sick. So they go into a room and they find, there's like some evidence of like Rainbow Dash's hair. Somebody cut off her hair and kind of like put it in the room. And then it was an envelope. And then apparently somebody she goes and she interviews all these guards for the castle. And the castle guards, originally they're pretty stiff and they're not telling her anything and they're not going to, reveal what happened. But then what she does is she gives them a ton of praise, and she says they're the most amazing workers ever. Their job must be so difficult, and that no one could be upset with them for taking a break. She gives them a ton of praise and makes them feel very, very, very important. And because of that, because she gives them a feeling of significance and recognizes their work and boosts them up personally, all of a sudden, these guards start to open up, and they say, yeah, well, there was this one guy who came and gave us a cake that we ate for like 20 minutes last night, which was so he just gave him a cake. So that was this new thing that came up, this new event. Okay, cool, so he's got a cake, all right. Where was the cake from? And then so she goes and she figures out where this cake was from, and so she asks the guy at the cake shop, who bought this very specific cake. And the guy at the cake shop says it was somebody with, a tie, and they spilled some of the cake on their tie and all that good stuff. And, Wind Rider wears a necktie, and so, she comes back, she comes to everybody, and she says, look, guys, figure out who it is, blah, blah, blah. And then she, points out how he's got his tie tied differently. She opens up his tie, and on his tie, of course, is the chocolate cake stain. And it was really like him framing Rainbow Dash, the whole time. And he did it because he was afraid that she would come and she would be the best flyer ever and she'd break his records. He was jealous of her potential ability. And so he did the worst thing possible, which was try to destroy her career and sabotage her flying potential for the future, which is just awful, terrible thing to do. But he does it out of jealousy. He does it out of spite. He does it for all the wrong reasons. And so because of this, the next in command goes up, grabs his badge, and just rips it away and revokes, his Wonderbolt status or whatever, because it was an awful, awful thing to do. To think that he thought he would have a long-term gain by hurting somebody, just not going to happen. What really happens is he has this short-term pleasure high of being the best ever and Rainbow Dash getting framed and getting almost kicked out. But then everything goes south because the truth will always come out when you're transparent. And the people around him, the ones that he tried to manipulate, the ones that he tried to trick, they were transparent. And so he got destroyed. His career is dead now because of this one single event that fundamentally crushed all aspects of his life, which is just terrible, awful. And so that's really what made it happen here, which is bad situation with Rainbow Dash and this new guy, Wind Rider, who she used to really adore, but then he turned against her and made one of the leaders leave and framed her and just tried to sabotage her, which was awful. And then she got to fly with the Wonderbolts, which was cool because Spitfire didn't come back in time because it was really far away, apparently. So, a lot to learn here, about a couple of things. And the biggest one is, as Rarity is interviewing tons and tons of people trying to figure out what happened and analyzing the scenes. Rainbow Dash is sick and tired because she doesn't understand what Rarity is doing, and she can't see through Rarity's eyes the investigative work that she's doing, which is a shame. But what's kind of more important is this idea that Rarity knows what's up. She sticks to her guns because she understands the importance of the investigation she's doing. And she knows more than anything else that if she can just go through her steps and do it her way, she will succeed and find who the culprit was. And so she ignores criticism. She ignores hatred. And all she does is go 100% to connect with others, to give them praise, and to make them feel significant so that they will give back to her and help her solve her problem and solve the mystery so that she can get to the answer that Rainbow Dash needs, even if she doesn't like the process that they have to go through to get there. She focuses and she stays strong to her core because this investigation is her strength, and she makes it happen. She makes it happen very, very well. So a lot of really cool lessons there. An awesome episode. Had some really good jazz music too, which is super cool. made in Manhattan. So there's this big event that they do like every single year where Coco Palmel lives. And again, Coco Palmel is Rarity's assistant in Manhattan. And they have these artists come and perform a huge play, and it's supposed to like make everybody in the community super happy, and like it's the best thing ever, right? That guy has 3 eyes. And so every single year they have it in like this forest, this little park, right? There's this, buildings over here, and then there's a park. And in the park, they've got like this huge stage, right? And whoops, they set up the stage, and then they perform on the stage, and they have like the best time ever, which is like super, super cool. So this year, the problem is like there's like a huge mess all over the place. And so the cutie map, the map, it calls Applejack and Rarity to come to Manhattan to figure out, what to do, how to help. And at first, like, Applejack's like, what are you talking about? Why are you calling me to a fashion show or to a play? But what's cool is, like, they realize that they've got to go through these construction projects, got to get this stuff done. And so, for the sake of helping their ailing friend, they sit down, they put aside, the difficulties they're having, and they say, all right, sounds cool, sounds like a plan. Let's fix this place up. And so they try to but this is just such a big, big, big forest. So they really, really try to clean it up. But it's just so much work at the beginning. And like, it's this huge, huge task, but there's only so many people to get it done. And they try to advertise with flyers, help clean up, help set up the event, and they try to advertise it. But it just does not work with word of mouth. They care about it. They don't care that much, which is good. They've got the right mentality going into it. This idea that like it's going to get done one way or another. And what happens is as they keep going and going and going, they get frustrated, they get sad, they get upset because they've been working and working and working, but there's just so much to clean up, and the stage is literally falling apart as people stand on it. And it's just the old way, right, is not working. The old way does not, it's worked for so many times in the past, but now there's a crossroads, right? And in this crossroads, it no longer functions as needed for the performers, for the viewers, for the people in the community. It's just so messed up that they have to figure out a new way to make it happen. A new opportunity for these guys to play and to bring joy and happiness into the world of those around them, and more specifically into the community, right? Because the community, like everyone, is so grouchy and sad because they don't have their play. They don't have this connection that they need with the members of their community. And that's a connection that only comes, like, usually it's like once a year when they all come together around this huge play. And see, the problem is, like, the person who organizes it, they kind of like died, which sucks. And so this is the first year where they're like doing it all by themselves, and it's up to them to make it happen. And they realize that like it's more important for them to get something done and to get something out there than it is for them to have a perfect setup. And so because they aren't really able to fix up this huge green, and they can't get the whole park cleared out and all the weeds, and it's just this giant mess, and they can't fix everything. It's just so much work. And it's a task above their heads and above their budgets. Then realize that they must get something, anything done. And so they break away from the old, and they forget about this rundown park, and they say, all right, well, that's not going to happen. We only have like a couple of days to set this up. They just build like this little makeshift stage, like on the side of the road. So you've got like the road, right here, and they just kind of build this like stage on the side of the road. And they give it like curtains, and they make it look nice, they make it look boxy. But fundamentally, it's just like this implemented last second thing because they want something. Because some action is better than none. The guy who wrote The Power of None, The Power of Now, Power Now, he has this one thing he says. He says, any action is better than inaction. So powerful. Think about that. So they make this stage, and it's not perfect, but it's some sort of action. And they get on the stage, and they got like all the performers, and they're doing their play, and they're having the best time ever. And see, they don't wait for an audience, because at the beginning they don't have an audience. And so many people get discouraged at the beginning. You look at social media, I mean, just so much you can do online with work, right? It's the idea that like at the beginning, you have no audience, but you still need to pump out content. You still need to do things. You still need to be. You still need to succeed. You still need to be there. And then as you start to do it more and more and more and more, the audience grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. That's the power of growth. That's the power of continued and collective growth over and over and over again by just sticking on this path, this momentum, this continuation. And so that's what they do, right? They set up this stage and they just start performing. And one by one, people come by and they stop and they sit down and they say, oh, I remember this event. I remember this performance that we did. I remember how everyone used to be here. And so they sit back, they sit here. It grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And the more people you have, the stronger the pull. And eventually, like the whole block is sitting on the side of the road watching this play. It doesn't matter they don't have a big theater. It doesn't matter that they don't have like the perfect setup. What matters is they did something. Because the instant that they do something, they're on the right path. They're in the right situation. They're going towards the future that they desire, and they have facilitated the entertainment. So everyone comes and they listen to this whole big play, the whole shebang, and they are just so happy. By the end of it, everyone's cheering, everyone's clapping. I mean, they are all revitalized. They're having the time of their lives. And sometimes, all it takes to bring a smile to someone's face, all it takes to bring joy to someone's life is a simple act of kindness, an act of outgoing generosity, an act of happiness that you can share with somebody. And then the instant that you can do that, it changes their whole outlook on life. And it gives them this belief that there is purity, there is growth, there is charity in reality. And that's exactly what they do here, is they show them this glimpse of happiness, and it spreads happiness right into their lives. And as soon as that happens, all of a sudden, they're so inspired to go and live these insanely happy, joyful worlds, lives and lives and lives. And so the impact here is so much more than what they start with, because it lasts for years and years and so much time to come in this town, in this area, right? And it's all because they just took action and made something happen. It wasn't perfect, but they did it. And at the end, there were huge cheers, and everyone thought it was the most amazing thing ever. And because they just did it, now they have a whole huge group of people that next year want to help with the celebration. And next year we'll come together as a community and we'll come to help and serve. Because as you work and as you take that action, as you make it happen, you start to grow this loyal following of those who will constantly come back to you over and over again to help you work towards those overarching long-term goals and those dreams. No matter how humble the beginnings are, you just keep growing and growing and growing and working with what you have to get everything you can out of all you've got, which is the coolest thing ever. And so that's really like one of the huge takeaways from here, is to just do it and also like care, but not that much, right? Like these guys set up a play on the side of the road. Like they cared, they were setting up the play, but not that much. I mean, it's just on the side of the road, just chill out. It's not a big deal. So just really cool stuff there. You want to make sure that when you go into these situations, you're going hard, and at the same time, you're just rolling with it and you're letting it happen, right? Applejack, she didn't really want to be part of this. She didn't know why she was part of it, but it was a great learning experience for her. She kept going through it, forming deeper connections, deeper relationships. Remember this idea that no matter what you're doing, as long as you're doing it, someone you care about, you're strengthening that relationship and you're having overarching life projects, which is awesome.